The ultimatum, the massive space station, hung in the void like a jeweled crown, its crystalline spires reaching out in all directions. Nexus Prime, the capital of the stellar dominion, was home to representatives from 73 different species. For 3,000 years, it had been the center of galactic civilization, a symbol of order and established power that stretched across half the known galaxy. Commander Elena Vasquez pressed her face against the viewing port of her ship, the Horizon's Edge, as they approached the station. Even after seeing it in holographic displays countless times, the reality of Nexus Prime took her breath away. The station was larger than Earth's moon, its bioluminescent sections pulsing with the rhythm of artificial life. Docking ports opened, like flowers to receive ships from across the galaxy, while streams of traffic flowed in complex patterns that would have been impossible for human minds to navigate without computer assistance. "First time seeing it in person?" asked Dr. Marcus Chun, settling into the seat beside her. The xenobiologist had been her advisor for the past 5 years, and his calm demeanor always helped settle her nerves before difficult negotiations. "It's magnificent," Elena admitted, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. "Hard to believe we're about to tell them they're wrong about everything." Marcus chuckled softly. "That's one way to put it, though I suspect they already know why we're here." Elena nodded grimly. The stellar dominion had been sending increasingly hostile messages to human colonies for the past 6 months. What had started as complaints about aggressive expansion had evolved into threats of direct action. The Dominion claimed that humanity's rapid colonization of star systems was disrupting the ancient balance of power they had maintained for millennia. From humanity's perspective, they were simply following the same expansion patterns they had used for 80 years since developing faster-than-light travel. They terraformed uninhabited worlds, established research stations, and built thriving communities. They had never attacked another species or claimed territory already occupied. But the Dominion saw something threatening in humanity's rapid growth and adaptability. The docking procedure took 3 hours, during which Elena reviewed her briefing materials one final time. Earth's government had sent her with a simple mandate: maintain peace while protecting humanity's right to expand. It sounded reasonable until you considered that the Stellar Dominion commanded the largest military force in galactic history and viewed compromise as a sign of weakness. Walking through the station's corridors felt like traveling through an alien museum. The architecture shifted from section to section, reflecting the aesthetic preferences of different species. Crystalline growths gave way to organic curves, which transitioned into geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. The air itself changed composition as they moved through different zones, each mixture optimized for the respiratory needs of various alien physiologies. Their guide was a member of the Zephyrian species, a tall, graceful being with pale blue skin and 4 arms. It spoke in melodic tones through a translation device, explaining the history of various sections they passed. Elena tried to pay attention, but her mind kept drifting to the upcoming meeting. Everything depended on the next few hours. The council chamber was a vast spherical room with floating platforms arranged in concentric circles. Each platform held representatives from different species, their forms ranging from barely visible energy beings to massive creatures that required specialized support systems. At the center of it all sat High Archon Thylix, the ancient leader of the Stellar Dominion. Thylix was a Corvathian, a species that resembled a cross between a praying mantis and a spider. Standing nearly 10 feet tall, with chitinous armor that gleamed like polished obsidian, the High Archon commanded respect through presence alone. 4 multifaceted eyes fixed on Elena as she entered the chamber, and she felt the weight of millennia of experience behind that gaze. Commander Vasquez. Of the human species, Thylix's voice resonated through the chamber without need for translation. The Corvathians were one of the few species that could naturally produce sounds approximating human speech. You have requested this audience to discuss your species' expansion into Dominion-protected space. Elena stepped forward, her diplomatic training keeping her voice steady. High Archon, humanity appreciates the opportunity to address the stellar dominion. We come seeking understanding and peaceful resolution to any concerns about our colonization efforts. A ripple of what might have been amusement passed through the chamber. Several species made sounds that Elena recognized as laughter, though. It ranged from crystalline chimes to deep, rumbling growls. Peaceful resolution, Thylex repeated, mandibles clicking in what Elena's briefings had identified as a gesture of contempt. Your species has established 150 colonies. In the past 8 decades, you have transformed entire worlds to suit your biology, eliminated native ecosystems, and expanded your territory at a rate unprecedented in galactic history. And you speak of peace. High Archon, every world we have colonized was uninhabited. Elena replied, feeling the first stirrings of frustration. We have never displaced another sentient species or claimed territory already occupied. Our expansion follows established galactic law. Galactic law? The High Archon's voice rose, echoing through the chamber. Galactic law is what the Stellar Dominion says it is. We have maintained order in this galaxy for 3,000 years, long before your species even knew there were other worlds beyond. Your small blue planet, your rapid expansion, threatens the balance we have carefully maintained. Marcus stepped forward slightly, his voice calm and academic. High Archon, if I may, humanity's expansion rate is actually quite conservative compared to several species in galactic history. The Xerian Collective, for example, established over 300 colonies in their first century of faster-than-light travel. The Xerion Collective, Thylex said coldly, no longer exists. They too believed they could expand without limit. They too thought they could ignore the will of the Stellar Dominion. The threat hung in the air like a physical presence. Elena felt her heart rate increase, but she kept her expression neutral. High Archon, humanity has no desire for conflict with the Stellar Dominion. We seek only to grow and explore, as is the right of all sentient species. Rights, Thylex repeated, rising from his throne. The other alien representatives fell silent, their attention focused on the towering figure. You speak of rights as if they are granted by the universe itself. Rights are granted by those with the power to enforce them. The Stellar Dominion has that power. Elena could see where this was heading, but she had to try one more diplomatic approach. High Archon, surely there is a way for humanity and the Stellar Dominion to coexist. We could establish formal treaties, create buffer zones, implement oversight protocols. Silence, Thylex commanded, and the words seemed to reverberate through Elena's bones. The Stellar Dominion has reached a decision regarding humanity's future. You will listen, and you will obey. The High Archon gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. It showed a 3-dimensional map of human space, with every colony and outpost marked in red. The display was disturbingly accurate, showing details that should have been classified. Asterisk. The human species has 24 hours to begin the complete evacuation of all colonies beyond their original star system, Thylex announced. All human vessels will return to Earth, and all human expansion will cease permanently. Humanity will be confined to their single world, where they will remain under Dominion oversight for the remainder of their existence. Elena felt as if she had been struck by lightning. High Archon, that's impossible. We have over 40 million colonists, scattered across 150 worlds. The logistics alone are not our concern, Thylex interrupted. The Stellar Dominion has assembled a fleet of 12,000 warships to ensure compliance. If any human vessel or colony remains outside Earth's system after 24 hours, it will be destroyed without warning. The chamber erupted in sounds of approval from the various alien species. Elena realized with growing horror that this had never been a negotiation. It had been a formal declaration of war, delivered with the pomp and ceremony the Dominion believed such occasions deserved. "High Archon," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper, "you're talking about the destruction of human civilization. 40 million innocent people will serve as an example to any other species that might consider ignoring Dominion authority." Dilex replied with chilling finality. "The galaxy has remained stable for 3 millennia because we have never allowed any species to grow beyond their designated boundaries. Your kind will not be the first exception." Dr. Chun stepped closer to Elena, his face pale. "Commander, we need to send a message to Earth immediately." Elena nodded, her mind racing. She activated her personal communicator, knowing that every word would be monitored by Dominion forces. "This is Commander Vasquez to Earth Control. Diplomatic mission has failed. Repeat, diplomatic mission has failed. Implement Protocol 7 immediately." The response came within seconds. Message received, Commander. Protocol 7 is now active. All human vessels are ordered to return to Earth immediately. Godspeed. Elena looked up at High Archon Thylix, who had been listening to the exchange with obvious satisfaction. "High Archon, humanity will not forget this day. We came here in peace, seeking dialogue and understanding. You have chosen war. We have chosen to maintain order," Thylix corrected. "Your species will learn the same lesson the Zarian Collective learned, and the Thalassian Empire before them, and dozens of others who thought they could challenge the Stellar Dominion. Some lessons must be written in blood." As Elena and Marcus were escorted from the chamber, Elena caught sight of the tactical display that had been activated behind the High Archon's throne. It showed the Dominion fleet in all its terrible glory. 12,000 ships of every size and configuration, representing the combined military might of 73 species. The display showed them beginning to move toward human space, a dark tide that would sweep away everything in its path. Back aboard the horizon's edge, Elena sat in her command chair, staring at the communication console. Earth would receive her. Message in 6 hours. The Dominion fleet would reach the outer human colonies in 18 hours. She had set in motion events that would either save humanity or witness its destruction. "Commander," Marcus said quietly, "do you think they're really prepared for this? Earth, I mean. Protocol 7 sounds impressive, but the Dominion has 12,000 ships." Elena smiled grimly, thinking of the classified briefings she had received before leaving Earth. "Marcus, humanity has been preparing for this day since we first learned we weren't alone in the universe. The Dominion thinks they know what we're capable of. They think we're just another species to be crushed under their boots." She stood and walked to the viewing port, looking out at the stars that had called to humanity for so long. Soon, those same stars would witness either humanity's greatest triumph or its final defeat. "They're about to learn that humanity doesn't follow the same rules as other species," Elena said softly. "We've been fighting and surviving and adapting for millennia. Before we ever left Earth, the Stellar Dominion has maintained order for 3,000 years, but they've never faced anything like us." As the horizon's edge departed Nexus Prime, Elena wondered if she would live to see the next sunrise. In 18 hours, the galaxy would learn what happened when someone threatened the sea. Survival of the human race. The Stellar Dominion believed they were about to teach humanity a lesson about power. Instead, they were about to receive an education in human ingenuity. The reckoning. The Stellar Dominion fleet moved through space like a plague of locusts. 12,000 warships of every conceivable design stretching across light years of space. At the fleet's heart, High Archon Thylax stood on the command bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching tactical displays that showed human colonies scattered like pins on a map. "Status report," Thylax commanded, his 4 eyes scanning. The data streams that flowed across holographic projectors. Fleet Admiral Corex, a massive crustacean-like being from the shellac species, manipulated the controls with his 12 articulated limbs. High Archon, advanced scouts report that human evacuation efforts are proceeding as expected. 17 colonies have been completely abandoned, with evacuation ships detected fleeing toward Earth. And their military response? Minimal, High Archon. A few patrol ships have been detected, but they maintain distance and make no aggressive moves. The humans appear to be complying with our ultimatum. Thylax's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. As expected, when faced with overwhelming force, even the most stubborn species recognize the futility of resistance. How long until we reach their outer defensive perimeter? 6 hours, High Archon. Our long-range sensors detect approximately 300 human vessels, taking defensive positions around their outer colonies. Standard formation, primitive tactical deployment. The High Archon turned to study the tactical display more closely. The human ships appeared to be distributed in a simple defensive line, exactly as military doctrine would predict for a species facing impossible odds. Their vessels looked crude compared to Dominion technology, with angular hulls and external weapon mounts that suggested limited manufacturing capabilities. 300 ships against 12,000, Thylax mused. Even more futile than I anticipated. Open a channel to the human fleet. A communication system activated, broadcasting on all frequencies that human technology could receive. Thylax's image appeared on screens throughout the human fleet, his imposing figure radiating authority and power. "Human commanders," he began, his voice carrying the weight of millennia of conquest. "This is High Archon Thylax of the Stellar Dominion. You have chosen to resist our lawful authority. Your defiance will serve as an example to any other species that might consider challenging. Dominion rule. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift." The response came from a human with graying hair and tired eyes, wearing a simple blue uniform with minimal decoration. "High Archon, this is General Sarah Mitchell of Earth Defense Command. You want use to surrender? Come and take us." The communication channel closed abruptly, leaving Thylax staring at a blank screen. Around the bridge, various alien officers made sounds of amusement and contempt. The human's defiance was almost pathetic. In its futility, begin the attack, Thylax ordered. Show them the price of defying the Stellar Dominion. The first wave of Dominion ships moved forward, 1,000 vessels armed with energy weapons that could crack planets. They approached the human defensive line with the confidence of predators stalking wounded prey. Particle beams and plasma. Cannons charged to full power, ready to vaporize the primitive human ships in seconds. The battle began with a spectacular light show, as Dominion weapons opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space, striking the human vessels with devastating force. Ship after ship disappeared in brilliant explosions, their crude armor offering no protection against advanced alien technology. "Easy victories," Admiral Corex reported with satisfaction. "The human ships are falling back in disorder. Their shields are worthless against our weapons." Thylax watched as red dots representing human ships disappeared from the tactical display one by one. Within 30 minutes, 2/3 of the human fleet had been destroyed, and the survivors were retreating toward the inner system in apparent. "Panic. Pursue them," Thylax commanded. "Do not allow any to escape. The galaxy must see that resistance to the Dominion is futile." But as the Dominion fleet advanced deeper into human space, something strange began to happen. The retreating human ships seemed to be leading them along specific routes, through asteroid fields and past space installations that appeared abandoned. Long-range sensors detected no additional human forces, yet Admiral Corix found himself feeling increasingly uneasy. "High Archon," the Admiral reported. "Something is not right. The human retreat appears too organized, too deliberate. They are drawing us deeper into their territory." Dalex's multifaceted eyes focused on the tactical display. The human ships were indeed following a specific pattern, but with their fleet reduced to fewer than 100 vessels, what could they possibly accomplish? "Continue the pursuit," Daleks ordered. "Whatever trap they imagine they are setting, it cannot succeed against 12,000 ships." The answer came 18 minutes later. Space itself seemed to shimmer and twist around the Dominion fleet as hundreds of previously invisible human ships decloaked simultaneously. But these were not the crude vessels that had been destroyed in the opening engagement. These ships were sleek and deadly, their hulls incorporating technology that did not appear in any Dominion database. "Impossible," Admiral Corix breathed, his 12 limbs frozen over his control systems. "Our sensors detected nothing. How did they hide so many ships?" The human ships moved with coordination that bordered on the supernatural. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, they swarmed around the Dominion fleet like angry insects, striking from every direction at once. Their weapons were unlike anything the Dominion had encountered. Solid projectiles that punched through energy shields as if they were made of paper, energy beams that seemed to bend space itself, and missiles that split into dozens of smaller warheads mid-flight. At the center of the human fleet, Captain James Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Defiant Dawn, watching as his carefully planned ambush unfolded. He was a compact man with intense dark eyes and hands that moved constantly as he coordinated the battle through neural interface controls. "All ships, execute Phoenix Protocol," he commanded. His voice carried instantly to every human vessel through quantum-encrypted communications. "Show them what happens when you threaten humanity." Lieutenant Commander Zara Okafor, head of the Fleet's Cyber Warfare Division, worked at a bank of computers that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces as she launched digital attacks against the Dominion's command systems. "Their firewalls are impressive," she reported, "but they're designed to stop conventional intrusion attempts. They've never seen anything like human adaptive AI." Within moments, Dominion ships began experiencing cascade failures throughout their computer networks. Navigation systems provided false readings, weapons targeting became erratic, and communication channels filled with electronic noise that made coordination impossible. High Archon Thylix watched in growing horror as his seemingly invincible fleet began to fall apart. Human ships darted between his massive dreadnoughts like fighters engaging bombers, their superior maneuverability allowing them to strike at weak points that should have been impossible to target. "How is this possible?" he demanded, his voice rising to a shriek that caused several bridge officers to recoil. "They are primitives. Their technology should be centuries behind ours." Admiral Corix's voice shook as he read the damage reports streaming across his displays. "High Archon, we have lost over 3,000 ships in the first hour. Their weapons are using principles we do not understand. Our shields provide no protection." The truth was becoming horrifyingly clear. The ships destroyed in the opening engagement had been decoys, empty hulls designed to look like humanity's entire defensive fleet. While the Dominion celebrated their easy victory, the real human navy had been waiting in stealth, studying Dominion tactics and preparing for the perfect moment to strike. Captain Rodriguez watched as another Dominion dreadnought broke apart under concentrated fire from his destroyer squadron. Each human ship was outnumbered 40-1, but superior technology and tactics were proving more valuable than raw numbers. "Status report," he called out, never taking his eyes from the tactical display. "Enemy fleet effectiveness down 60% and falling. Lieutenant Okafor reported. Their command structure is completely disrupted. Individual ships are fighting independently with no central coordination. Casualties on our side? 7 ships damaged, none destroyed. The stealth modifications are working perfectly. Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile. For 80 years, humanity had been expanding into space while simultaneously preparing for exactly this scenario. Every colony ship had been accompanied by construction vessels that built hidden shipyards and research facilities. Every diplomatic contact with alien species had included detailed intelligence gathering about their technology and military capabilities. The Stellar Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, but they had grown complacent. They had never faced an enemy that treated war as a science rather than a ritual, that used deception and innovation instead of brute force. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Dominion fleet was not just losing, it was being systematically dismantled. Human cyber warfare specialists turned alien ships against each other, causing massive fratricidal battles within the Dominion ranks. Stealth technology allowed human vessels to appear and disappear at will, striking vital targets before vanishing into apparent empty space. High Archon Thylix found himself watching the destruction of everything he had built over millennia of conquest. The Eternal Dominion, his flagship and symbol of absolute power, shuddered under the impact of human weapons that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. High Archon, Admiral Corax reported, his voice barely above a whisper. We have lost 8,000 ships. The humans are demanding our surrender. Thylix's 4 eyes fixed on the tactical display, where the red dots representing his fleet continued to disappear with methodical precision. In 18 hours, the greatest military force in galactic history had been reduced to scattered debris and fleeing survivors. The communication channel activated without his permission, hijacked by human technology that treated Dominion encryption as a minor inconvenience. Captain Rodriguez appeared on the screen, his expression calm and professional. High Archon Thylix. Rodriguez said, "This is Captain Rodriguez of the United Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is defeated. Surrender now, and we will allow your surviving ships to return home safely. Continue fighting, and we will complete the destruction of your forces." Thylix stared at the human captain, seeing not the primitive savage he had expected, but a professional soldier who had outmaneuvered and outfought the finest military minds in the galaxy. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders that he no longer had the power to give. "How?" Thylix asked, his voice barely audible. "How did you defeat us?" Rodriguez's expression softened slightly. "High Archon, you made the same mistake every conqueror makes eventually. You assumed that because you had always won before, you always would. You never considered that your enemies might learn from their defeats, might adapt and grow stronger. You let us believe your expansion was random, uncoordinated," Thylix continued, pieces of the puzzle falling into place. "But you were preparing for this day from the beginning. Every human colony included defensive installations you never detected," Rodriguez confirmed. Every diplomatic contact gathered intelligence about Dominion capabilities. Every trade agreement included technology, transfers that helped us understand your weaknesses. We spent 80 years preparing for this war, High Archon. You spent 3,000 years assuming it would never come. Commander Elena Vasquez appeared beside Rodriguez on the screen, her diplomatic uniform replaced by military attire. "High Archon, humanity offers you the same choice you offered us. Withdraw to Dominion space and acknowledge human sovereignty over established territories. In exchange, we will not pursue your retreating forces or demand reparations for this unprovoked attack." Thylix looked around his ruined bridge, at the tactical displays showing the remnants of his once mighty fleet, at the faces of officers who had believed themselves invincible until 18 hours ago. The choice was no choice at all. The stellar Dominion ... double quotes, he began, then stopped. The words felt like poison in his mouth, but survival demanded their utterance. The stellar dominion surrenders. The phrase echoed through the communications networks of both fleets, carried by human technology to every corner of the battle zone. For the first time in 3 millennia, the stellar dominion had been defeated in open battle by a species they had dismissed as primitives. As human ships moved through the wreckage to rescue alien survivors, Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the defiant dawn, looking out at the stars that had witnessed humanity's greatest trial. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of Dominion hegemony was over, replaced by a new era where humanity stood as an equal among the stars. "Status report," she requested. "All human colonies secure," Rodriguez reported. "The Dominion fleet is withdrawing to their territory. Long-range sensors detect no further threats." Elena nodded, then activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Commander Vasquez. The threat to human space has been eliminated. We can all go home." The war that was meant to destroy humanity had lasted exactly 18 hours. In that time, the galaxy had learned that underestimating human ingenuity was a mistake no species would make twice. The stars, which had fallen silent in anticipation of humanity's destruction, now rang with the songs of celebration from 150 worlds. Humanity had not just survived their first interstellar war. They had won it so decisively that the galaxy would remember this day as the moment when the age of human expansion truly began. Asterisk.